Fire Emblem Engage is easily one of the best games in the Fire Emblem franchise. Before you call me a newbie to the franchise and consider my opinion worthless, I have played and beaten all of the FE games, aside from FE 4 and 5, as I've been holding out for the remakes. While I do enjoy the social and romantic aspects of the modern Fire Emblem games, I mainly care about the gameplay and if the game is fun to play. I can happily say that for the first time in a long while, Fire Emblem Engage scratches that itch and then some. Before we get into things, I will not be spoiling the plot at all. This is a first impressions video with a large in-depth review to follow with spoilers. The biggest question many people were asking when Fire Emblem Engage was first revealed, if it was not questioning the game's art style, was whether or not it would just be Three Houses 2.0. While Fire Emblem Three Houses is a solid game and I did enjoy it, Three Houses fell short when it came to originality and a clear lack of polish, implying that the game had been rushed. Three Houses sacrificed quality for quantity when it came to gameplay, having 4 routes that reused many assets and maps, along with padding from how much time you spend in the monastery, to change unit classes and keeping their motivation high. Fire Emblem Engage goes back to the series' roots, a streamlined linear campaign. There's no branching paths, just one simple story and a huge focus on making the tactical gameplay as fun as possible. This game feels like a love letter to the old fans who felt alienated by the newer games after Radiant Dawn. As far as I know, there is no romantic pairings or minigames here. These can even be shown through the supports, which are short and do not have any signs of romantic tension. I don't mind this aspect of the Fire Emblem series taking a step back or being toned down, as the best part of Fire Emblem Engage, in my opinion, is the tactical gameplay, which draws heavy inspiration from the classic games, while adding the better features of the modern games. The iconic weapon triangle is back, after being removed from Three Houses. However, Engage's weapon triangle has a twist to it. You of course have the standard, sword beats axe beats lance, and lance beats sword. In classic FE games, there was a separate weapon triangle for magic. That is not the case in Engage, as all magic, along with staffs and daggers, straight up lose to gauntlets, one of the new additions to the series from Three Houses. The weapon triangle is very important in this game. I'd argue more than any other Fire Emblem game, as you can't mindlessly put a tanky unit in the middle of a sea of enemies and expect them to solo the map. I'm sorry to all the Seth and Har fans. If you are at a disadvantage with the weapon triangle, there is a chance that the enemy will break your fighting stance, effectively disarming you, and you will be put to sleep like Nate Robinson in seconds. You have to plan out your moves in advance, isolate fights, and survey the map, otherwise you will be blindsided and lose units. Thankfully, one of the newer additions in the modern Fire Emblem games, the turn wheel, is present in Fire Emblem Engage as a draconic time crystal. If a Leer dies, or if one of your units dies, you have up to 10 chances to rewind time and correct any of your mistakes. While I know many elitist Fire Emblem fans would not be pleased with this mechanic returning, you can still play without using it and still have a great time like I did. With Awakening and the newer Fire Emblem games getting more and more people interested in the franchise, it would definitely alienate them if they have never played a classic FE game before, as this game is hard. I found myself dying many times and having to restart. There are several times that I've died when the enemy had a 10 or 30% chance of hitting me. Fire Emblem Engage's resource management is a mix of modern and classic Fire Emblem games. There is no weapon durability at all, so strong weapons such as the silver and killer weapons will not break at all, except for staffs, which still have durability and will break after being used a certain amount. Managing your gold is important in Fire Emblem Engage. You can choose to invest into forging your weapon, buying healing items, or promoting or changing your unit's class. In the early to mid game, there were definitely times where I had to pinch my pennies, as I was straight up broke. Also, how could I go this long without talking about the new mechanic that has been shown off everywhere during the marketing of this game, the Emblem Rings. The Emblem Rings are a gameplay feature that can be equipped to any one of the characters, allowing them to engage with one of the past Fire Emblem main characters, allowing them to use powerful attacks, special weapons, buffs, and skills. The Emblem Rings also allow your units to gain access to new classes by leveling up your bond level with the rings, which works the same as your normal FE level up system. You may be wondering, emblems sound very busted and might make the game very easy. Thankfully, the devs thought this through, as not only do the emblems last for about 3 turns before needing to be recharged, each map is uniquely designed with not only the emblem ring mechanics in mind, but the weapon triangle and the chapter objective as well. You will find yourself constantly swarmed with hordes of enemies and map obstacles coming your way. Some may argue that this is bad game design and is unfair, but I strongly disagree. While it is hard and there is a learning curve, it forces you to play, pun intended, tactfully. None of the maps feel impossible or unfair. If a Leer or a unit dies, it is 99% of the time your fault. Either you didn't see an extra enemy coming, or you were too overconfident with your unit tanking more hits than they actually could. For an anniversary Fire Emblem game, Engage knocks it out of the park with how great its tactical gameplay is. Alright, that's enough about the tactical gameplay. I'll save the rest for my actual review of the game. Going back to how this game borrows elements from the modern games, Alir's base, the Somniel, is a much smaller version of the monastery from Three Houses. It serves as your main base throughout the game, as you can run around and do several tasks, such as leveling up units through the arena, get a small stat boost through working out, buy weapons and items, forge weapons, buy some drip for Alir, kidnap other people's pets, and level up your bonds with your emblem rings, cook some meals, and many more. One of Three Houses' biggest criticisms was how traversing the monastery felt like a massive chore and slowed the game down. While I believe the Somniel is a step in the right direction, as you can get away with just visiting to level up your emblem rings, I won't lie, after a couple of hours in, it does start to feel like a chore. There are only so many times you can press A on every glowing object on your map without getting bored. It doesn't help that once you finish a map, you are able to explore said map like the Somniel, where you talk to your units, kidnap animals, and collect more items and currency, which adds to the exploration gameplay feeling very repetitive and shallow. I will give credit where it's due. I do think it's cool how the developers were able to get a dual purpose out of the detailed maps that they created, by allowing you to explore them, which would please the new fans who came from Three Houses. Speaking of maps, the return of a traversable world map is back. It is very similar to the one in Fire Emblem Awakening. Through the world map, you can travel to the Somniel and progress the main story. If you're looking for side content, you can do the paralogs to gain new abilities or allies. You can also fight the corrupted armies in skirmishes to level up your units, but if you feel a bit underleveled and don't want to risk losing your units, you can fight other kingdoms in training matches to level up. There is a lot of content in Fire Emblem Engage. You can expect roughly 50 hours at least for one full playthrough of the game, including side content. You can really feel the love and effort that the developers put into the game, which can also be said for the art and music as well. Artist Mika Picasso, a longtime fan of Fire Emblem and the artist behind some of the biggest VTubers out there, was in charge for the character designs for this game. When Fire Emblem Engage was first revealed, I wasn't a huge fan of the character designs. Don't worry, I was not one of those people who harassed Mika for absolutely no reason. It made sense that they picked her for massive appeal, as her art style would be recognizable to VTuber fans who know her work and would be more interested to try out Fire Emblem as a result. The more I played, I grew to appreciate and enjoy the character designs that Mika had created. It was only enhanced by how amazing the art style and direction for this game is, as I was immersed in the world and everything basically popped off with life and energy. It's a massive step up compared to Three Houses, which felt very gloomy and looked straight up bad at times. The music in Fire Emblem games have always been good. I'm happy to say that this is also the case here, except for the intro song. That one was kinda sus. Overall, Fire Emblem Engage is not just an amazing game, but an amazing Fire Emblem game. I would probably rate it an 8.5 or 9 out of 10, with its great gameplay, great visuals, and the amount of content packed in. I would recommend Fire Emblem Engage to new fans, old fans, or someone looking to get into Fire Emblem. Intelligent Systems knocked it out of the park here. It's a great step in the right direction for the franchise as it focuses on the tactical gameplay it's known for. I can only hope this continues in future games. If you've played Fire Emblem Engage, what do you think? Was it worth it? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you would like to see more game reviews, let me know by leaving a like or even subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.